Hello, am I audible? Hello, good evening all. Am I audible? Can someone give me a quick check because I'm not actually sure. Am I audible?
Sir, yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Yeah, okay. So, Kalin ma'am, I'm Nivedan Sindhil Kumar. I am working as a data scientist at Shopster. So, Colin, I am a pass out of 2020 batch. I'm from the EEE department. Colin ma'am is actually out, so she's not able to join. So, is it okay if I start the session? Or will there be any of your friends joining? Shall we wait for a couple of minutes? Hello? Guys, can someone give me if we have to wait or can we start?
So we can start, sir.
Yeah, okay, cool. So, sorry guys, there was some problem with my screen share, so I'll share my screen. Yeah, can you guys see my screen? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this session is going to be primarily about a high level overview of what Masters Abroad generally is and what options you people have with regards to taking your Masters Abroad. And on the first place, why you should actually go for a Masters Abroad when you have options in India. So why is that a popular career choice is what I'm going to be talking about. So the first part, I want this to be an interactive session. So if you guys are having any doubts or you want me to pass somewhere, you have a doubt in between, feel free to text me up or just unmute your mic and then ask your doubts. I'll answer it to the best of my ability. So yeah, so with regards to why should we go for masters abroad is a very broad question. So one part of the question that I'd like to answer is With regards to competitive exams in India, you all know that we are a very populous country. So the number of people who get to study at prestigious institutions or at good institutes at good courses, the probability is pretty low. Though we are good enough to go there and study those courses. So what Masters Abroad does is it makes it feasible for everybody in our cadre to do good courses at good colleges. So it's very accessible. I wouldn't say if it's affordable, it's accessible. So if we have money and if it is possible for all of us to go there, then we can try for an option abroad. So that is one part of the question of why we want to go for Masters Abroad. And with regards to another part, generally with regards to the quality of education that's being given, abroad has always been a notch higher with regards to their research and the areas that they work on. Supposing I assume you people are from computer science and from business information systems department. So with regards to your popular degrees like data science, cloud computing, AI, software development, they've always been pioneers and they always have intensive research going on in those areas. So when you go there and learn it from the makers, it gives you a holistic experience, learning experience as compared to a more theoretical approach in our higher education. So that is also a popular reason for students to go abroad and then study. So that is one. And yeah, so another question that I would like to ask all of you is, do you guys have any particular country in mind for masters abroad? Please hit me up in the chat section below.
Sir, what about Germany, sir?
Germany, yeah. So Germany, for what course are you looking for?
AI, sir, artificial intelligence.
Yeah. So with regards to Germany, there is this particular thing that you have to know German. It's not that you have to definitely know German in the sense like to complete the degree, but that is a very language intensive country in a way that you have to know German to get a job. It's not mandatory to do a degree there. I mean, to complete the degree, but you need to know that for getting a job there. So Germany in AI is a very good choice, I would say. Any other destinations you people have in mind, just to have an understanding of how you guys think and what your options are? Can I get any more options on how you guys, which country you guys have in?
Sir, I like to do my MS in Japan, sir.
Oh, Japan. Okay, that's great. Japan is one country.
I'm going to complete the N3 in about third year or something. I plan to complete N3 in Japanese language. So it will be easy to recruit or whatever.
Oh, that's great. Japan, I'm actually being honest, I don't have a lot of knowledge about Japan. I know only about the Western countries and Singapore to an extent, but Japan, I'm sorry. What I'll do is I'll give you my LinkedIn IDs. If you guys are on LinkedIn, just text me up. I will connect you to people who are doing their masters in Japan, our seniors. Now, will that work?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. So Japan, Germany, any other countries you have in mind? Sorry, can you come again? Hello? Can you come again? Sorry. Hello? I can't hear you. Can you come again? Sorry. Okay, so no worries. Yeah. So I'll start with my process. So generally, with regards to doing your masters in the West, there is one particular exam that is compulsory. You either have to take IELTS or TOEFL. So this is an English language proficiency exam, and most countries take only IELTS and some take TOEFL. Like USA and Canada alone takes TOEFL. But if you are going to the European countries, I think you are good to go only if you have IELTS. And the second most common exam for going abroad is GRE. So GRE is graduate record examination, and GRE is needed only for US. I stress the word only because there are, I know my friends and my juniors, you know, in the initial days when they get caught up preparing for GRE for going for some European countries, which is actually not needed. European countries don't look into your GRE. It is only USA that looks into your GRE. So if there are guys, I assume there will be a larger chunk of people who go for US. So GRE should be your first priority, followed by either of TOEFL or IELTS. But if you're going for European countries, IELTS alone is enough. And if you are for Germany alone, as there was a guy who asked me about Germany alone, you will have to take their language examination, which is preferable, but it is not mandatory. They teach their courses in English, but it's not going to be mandatory. So if you take it, then it's great. So that is why I've given language-based exams. Like for example, if you go for Netherlands, then Dutch is not mandatory, but if you know Dutch, then that's an added advantage. So these three are the major category of exams that you have to prepare. So these two should be your focus area. If you're going for US, then this should be one and this should be two. If you're going for European countries, then you just have to focus on IELTS, which is enough. So SOP. So SOP is where the admissions make or break. So when I mean admissions make or break, what I am intending at is, yes, you have good CGPA, yes, you have good LORs, yes, you have done your internships, you have good knowledge, good skill set, but eventually this is why you want to do a particular thing that you want to do in life is SOP. So if you're going to take a particular college, say our friend said he's going to take up AI in Germany. So there are a lot of countries and a lot of options for AI. So why is he going to take a particular university in Germany for AI? Or why is he even going to take Germany for AI when there are other countries? So these are the 4 questions that you should have very crystal clear answers for when you are writing your SOP. Why that particular university? Why that particular course? And why you are a perfect fit? For example, Germany, USA, Ireland, these are very popular destinations for computer science based masters. So for every single course, there'll be only 50 or 60 admissions, but they'll be getting close to 3,000, 4,000 admissions. So when every seat is going to be an event, they will be very sure of taking the best ones possible. So you should tell them why you are a perfect fit for that particular course. It could be the reason doesn't matter. You can say, this particular professor has a very good research background. So I want to learn under this professor. So that could be a reason. Or you. Guys, can you please go on mute?
Hey, what up?
Hello. Could you please go on mute, please? So yeah. So with regards to the university, the university should be very sure that you are the perfect fit for that particular university and for that particular course. With regards to your aspirations and what you have done so far with your internships and your workshops or whatever your profile you might be having. So these 4 questions need to be answered very well. And with regards to LOR, there is a common notion, or there's an answered rule that you're going for masters after your work. Say after 1 or 2 years you're going to go. There should be one LOR that should definitely be from your working manager, your immediate project manager, or the person you're reporting to. And there should be one LOR from your UG professors. It could be your HOD, it could be your handling staff, it could be anybody, but there should be one from the academics and one from work. And with regards to country, I have arranged this in order of preference for computer science based people. So for computer science, it should be USA. And with regards to European countries, it should be Ireland, Sweden, Netherlands, and Germany. And the third destination could be Canada, and the fourth could be Australia. But I'll tell you what are the pros and cons of these particular countries. USA has a lot of scope for computer science based masters, especially data science, AI, cloud computing, all these areas. But the thing is, with USA, it is going to cost you a lot. And also they don't have a bigger stay back option. Like the stay back option is going to be only for 90 days. So if you don't get your job within 90 days, then that's going to be a problem. You will be sent back. So if you're very sure about going for USA, you need to have the finance aspect of it in mind. The second option that most people go for is Ireland. So Ireland also has 30,000 startups based out of data science alone in Dublin. So it's also a very cheaper option. Like the master's is going to cost you only 15 to 20 lakhs at max, and you'll also have 2 years of stay back option, so you'll easily repay your loan. So Ireland is becoming a very popular destination. And with regards to that, there are also a lot of companies which are in the UK. After Brexit, they are going to shift their bases to Ireland. So that is going to be even more profitable for people going for Ireland because the jobs are going to multiply. And third is Canada. Canada is 50-50, I would say, because it also has a lot of jobs, but again, it also comes in with a lot of investment. So if you're up for the investment, and it has a 3-year stay-back option, so you can easily become their, get their PR easily. So if you're looking to settle down in a country, I think Canada and Australia are similar options. So I weigh them Canada and Australia equally. So these are the country split-ups that you can have with regards to masters in computer science abroad. So you guys have any questions with regards to any particular country that you want me to talk about, then please feel free to unmute yourself and ask me about your doubts.
Sir?
Yeah,
Can
go
you
ahead.
hear?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
So what about Germany, sir? Can I study AI or data science in Germany, sir?
Yeah. So may I know which year you are from? Hello.
Sir?
May I know which year you are currently studying? Which year of engineering are you in?
First year finish, I'm going to third sem, sir.
Okay,
If
so
the college
you are
starts,
going
I will
for
be,
okay,
if the
third
college
semester.
starts, I will be third semester.
Okay. Yeah. With regards to Germany, it's a very popular destination, and with Germany, the one drawback that you might have is Germany's master's program is not just tailor-made for jobs. They have a very research-based curriculum. Like all countries are research-based, but here it is very research-based. In the case, like you'll have a lot of research to do rather than you studying a module and then replicating that or passing that examination. So if you are up for the challenge, if you really want to get to the depth of AI and data science, then definitely yes. And with Germany, you'll have TU and FH, like you'll have two segregations. You'll have technical universities and you'll have applied science universities. So applied science universities are focused more on jobs, and TU is focused more on research and PhD. So Germany is definitely an option to take for sure. Yeah. And you can
So what about England?
UK. So yeah, can I know which year you are from?
So same, sir.
Same.
First year going to second year.
Okay, so which masters are you planning for in England?
Machine learning.
Okay, AI, ML. Okay. Yeah. So with UK, one thing that I would say is UK is again a make or break scenario. When I say that, what I mean is UK is a big country. Their market is pretty big. But one disadvantage that comes with UK is if you don't go there with experience, say you finish your UG this year and you go the same very year without having any experience to UK, that can actually backfire because UK is such a market where they prefer more experienced people rather than fresher people. So USA is the exact opposite of it. USA prefers more fresher people and they don't want experienced people. So if you are going to go for masters immediately after your UG, then I would say you should reconsider UK because UK is such a market. But if you're going to go for Ireland, I would say Ireland is a better option considering you are a fresh. If you're going to go as a fresher, so yeah. But yeah, both these places, UK and Ireland and England, they are good for machine learning and AI. So does that
So
answer your question?
Ireland required any language examination, sir?
No, Ireland doesn't require any language examination. It requires only IELTS. No other examination. It just requires you to complete your UG degree and it requires you to complete IELTS. That's it. You don't have to write any examination.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So, yeah.
What about DELF or DALF exam for Canada? French examination.
Yeah, for Canada, as to my knowledge, I don't think that is a prerequisite. The prerequisite is still, it's either IELTS or TOEFL. I don't think that is a prerequisite, but knowing an additional language definitely helps. Especially in European countries, it definitely helps, because to know the language of the country you're going in, it's a more localized market with regards to European countries. They want to know hire people who know their culture, their language. So for Canada, I don't think it makes much of a difference because of Canada being an English-speaking country. And which masters are you planning for? And also your name, please. Sorry.
I'm Akshida, data science actually.
Okay, data science, yeah. For that data science, you don't require this exam, is what I'm sure of, Akshita. But may I know why Canada? Because yeah, before asking the question why, what I'd like to answer is, again, with Canada, if you're gonna go there for Canada without having experience, I think you should be very sure of what aspect of data science you're gonna get into. Because since most people here are gonna go for data science and AI, and I am also a data scientist, one thing that I can tell you for sure is data science as such is a very, very broader term. Like you have business intelligence, you have ML, you have deep learning, you have NLP, you have time series, you have a lot of options within data science. So when you're going for data science as a fresher, you should be very sure on what particular aspect of data science you want to work into. If you're sure about that, then you can go for data science, especially for Canada, countries like Canada and England. You have to be sure, because if you're not sure, people are not ready to hire people as freshers without any hands-on experience. So with Canada, I think you can go for ML, deep learning. Those areas are pretty high there. But if you're going without experience, I think you should be having a very good UG profile. You should have done projects in ML, so that actually helps you get a job easily. Yeah. So does that answer your question, Akshita?
Yeah. GRE is not mandatory for Canada?
No, I don't think GRE is mandatory for Canada, but I'm not fully sure about Canada alone. For other European countries, it's definitely not mandatory. For Canada, I'm not fully sure. I'm sorry about that, but to my knowledge, I don't think it's mandatory.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, any other questions that you guys have with regards to country selection? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So according to you, which country is cheaper for masters?
Okay, so that is not a single full question, but I'll try to answer it to my ability. So with regards to country being the cheapest, I would say Ireland and Germany are the cheapest across all countries. So I would say these two. Yeah.
Okay, so why do you say the Ireland is better than IITs in India? How could they differ?
Okay, that's a really good question. Okay, so why is Ireland a very popular destination? As I mean, very good compared to IIT. So consider Ireland is a very small country, but even though they have good universities, you know why? Because majority of the IT business that happens in Europe, almost 70% of it happens in Ireland. So why does Ireland have those many companies as compared to even US? You know, it's competing with US. It's because USA, other countries have a very high corporate tax percentage. So say I'm a startup owner, I would want to open my company in a place which has very less taxation. So Ireland just has 10% of taxation for corporates. So what has that done to the education sector is, most companies which are startups start their startups in Dublin. So Dublin has 30,000 startups. So why is that startup percentage linked to the quality of education? Is because Ireland just has, if you count the top universities, it just has 7 to 8 universities. So all these 70 universities have, say, at max 10,000 graduates coming out of data science per year. But the number of jobs are, they require almost 40,000 to 50,000 people. So what that has propelled is, Ireland has a program called graduate program. So that is especially designed for master's people. So what the program operates on is, it takes fresh master's graduates who are doing the course. They give a real-time business case study. Say Accenture is gonna take a graduate for graduate program. They'll give their business problem that they're trying to solve to you. And you will be working with Accenture people and mentors higher rank people from Accenture. So you'll be working on a real-time problem during your masters, even before completion. So when you complete your masters, you have a greater chance of landing up in a job. So when you compare that with an IIT, IIT has a lot of good research going on. But the problem with IIT research is, it's more academic based. They don't have business based research. They don't solve real world business problems. So that is where Ireland has an edge over IIT, I would say. The ability to solve real world business problems. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I able to understand, sir.
Yeah. So any other doubts with regards to masters?
Sir, for cybercrime, which is the best country to run, sir?
You mean cyber security, right?
Yeah, yes, sir, cybersecurity.
Okay, so for cyber security, New Zealand is good. Then we have USA is pretty good, I would say. USA should be your first option. Then Ireland is pretty good. So USA, Ireland, New Zealand are pretty good. And I assume you would have heard of these bug bounty hunting competitions, right? Have you heard of it?
No.
Okay, so since you asked about cybersecurity, one of my close friends is into cybersecurity. So they conduct these competitions, which are open. So if you can find a bug in a popular website's competition, they'll reward you with money or some other internships or something. So if you have a very high, bug count, or you have a good profile with regards to bug bounty hunting, then you will get full scholarships going abroad. So you don't have to spend a single rupee to go study abroad. So I think you can focus your profile there. And if you want more details, I'll share you my LinkedIn profile also. I'll link you to my friend. I think you can build your profile based on his idea as well.
Yeah, sir, thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'll put my LinkedIn profile in the chat below.
Yeah, sir.
So any more doubts with regards to any courses?
So does Ireland provide any scholarships for Indian students, or any other country providing scholarships for Indian students or international students?
Okay, that's great. So yeah, this is something I wanted to address. So with regards to all countries, every single country abroad provides you scholarships for masters abroad. So the scholarships depend on three particular things: the weightage of your profile, the country that you are applying to, and the university. So one, the weightage of your profile is your CGPA, your work experience, your internships, your projects, and any other thing that might add up to your profile. If that is strong, you will get. Second thing is country-based scholarships. For example, European countries have a scholarship called Erasmus Mundus Scholarship. So that is for international students who are wanting to do their masters in Europe. So for that, they have a particular set of criteria. So that Erasmus Mundus is applicable for students across all countries in Europe. So that is a common scholarship in Europe. But if you go for a particular country, like Ireland provides a scholarship called International Merit Scholarship. So that is given for €1,000, and that is given for all students only for Europe. And there are particular universities which they will give their own scholarships, like Dublin City University. There's a university called UCD. They give their own scholarship. Every particular university gives it for a particular amount. So there will be university-based scholarships, there will be country-based scholarships, and for Europe there is a continent-based scholarship as well. For USA, they'll for every single university they give you particular amount of scholarship based on a country. So that entirely depends on your profile and your merit when they rank or when they screen your profile. So yeah, scholarships is given across countries and across universities.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, that was a good question. So any other doubts with regards to that? Okay, so since you don't have any doubts, I'll just cover a couple of more topics that I wanted to cover. So one thing is staying. So with regards to all universities, I'll tell you what is the range of master spending for all these popular destinations. If you take US, the higher ranked universities called the Ivy League universities, there you will easily spend from 70 lakhs to 1 crore, considering all other parameters of your joining, your course fee, your accommodation, everything. So that comes there. With scholarship, maybe it may come down to 80, 70 or 60. So that is one. For a normal university, you will spend anywhere between 30 to 70 lakhs with living and other things. So for USA, that is one. For Canada, you will end up spending somewhere between 30 to 60 lakhs. Again, the same range. If you go for some higher ranked universities, it might cost you a bit. Like university, there's a university called Waterloo in Canada. That is a pretty high ranked university. There you might be spending a bit more, but the average range is this. For Ireland, you'll end up spending from 10 to 20 lakhs, including your living and everything else. For Germany, it is between 10 to 15 lakhs. And for Sweden and Netherlands, it will be anywhere between 30 to 50 lakhs. And for Australia, it will be between 40 to 70 lakhs. So based on your scholarships, based on the city you live in, based on your particular lifestyle, like I like to travel. So when I go abroad, I might take a trip every 6 months or even say, every 1 year. So that might end up having a higher expense. So if you are not that kind of person and your lifestyle is different, then you might end up spending less. So that is one factor to counter. And
So what about Ireland, sir? Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, Ireland 10 to 20 lakhs you'll end up spending.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sorry for interrupting.
No, yeah, that's fine. So yeah, so these are the ranges across different countries. So this can be plus or minus 10 to 10 lakhs or 15 lakhs, because if you take US is such a big country. You'll end up spending more in New York, but you'll not end up. Yeah, go ahead.
So what about Japan or Korea, sir?
No, Japan and Korea, I'm not actually sure. As I told before, I'm not sure about those two countries. Japan, Korea, China, I don't have an idea of how things work there. But I think you are the same person who asked about Japan earlier, right? So we have a friend who's doing his master's in autonomous cars in Japan. So if you're really interested, just hit me up in LinkedIn. I'll connect you to him. I think he might be able to guide you better. Does that work? I think it's Samuel, right? Who asked that question? Okay, yeah, never mind.
Different person.
Oh, it's a different person. Okay. So yeah, so these are the ranges. So if you want to do your masters at a very cheaper cost, then I would say Germany, Ireland. But if you're okay with spending and you since majority of you are from CS and you want to get to the depth of it or you want to explore more, I think USA would be a better option. So these two are the major destinations for computer science based masters. So with Australia is again, as I said, it's similar to Canada. The market is not a bigger market, it's a very smaller market. But if you want to go there to a country to settle, or you want your PR get very easily, I would say Australia is also a good destination. But even that will cost you a bit more. It is almost similar to USA. It will come close to 40 to 70 lakhs. So these are the most popular destinations. And as I told you, scholarships are based on these particular criteria. So one thing that I didn't cover is accommodation. So with regards to accommodation, there are only two accommodations. One is an university-based accommodation, like our Panimalar hostel, so to say. The second is your off-campus accommodations, and always university accommodations will be more costly than your off-campus accommodations. And I would also prefer you to stay off-campus because you can explore the country a bit more. You'll know a lot of people. You'll get to know people from other countries. With university accommodation, it's pretty one-dimensional. So that is one drawback of university accommodation. But these two are the major types of accommodation. The second particular thing that I didn't address is part-time jobs. So most people who go abroad, they don't. They plan only for the tuition fees. The part-time jobs are there to take care of your living expenses, and those part-time jobs are again split into on-campus jobs and off-campus jobs. On-campus jobs fall under the category. Say I am a PhD researcher. I have a project that I'm working on. I need someone to help me. So I'll hire a person and I'll give, it's called research assistantship. It's called RA. So I'll give him a particular money. It's called stipend also. In India, it's called stipend. So you can pay him amount and you can assign him a task. He'll do that for you. So that is RA. Those are high paying jobs. Or else most people abroad end up doing jobs like, bartender jobs, or they work as gardeners, or they work in Uber. That is a very popular thing. So these are non-technical jobs, but they also pay relatively well. So if you are someone who doesn't plan for your living expense, and I think you can work part-time for 20 hours a week in some countries. So you can work that way and you can pay take care of your living expenses. So once you start getting a full-time job, you can take care of your full-time expenses. I mean, the loan that you have taken for your full-time master. So that can, these commonly people work abroad like this. So that is one. And with regards to the job or the loan aspect of it, different banks have different interest rates. So if you're going to plan for your loans, plan it well in advance so that you don't have end up having those hassles and those visa problems. So that is different for different country, and interest rates also differ. So that is something you have to take care of. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Go ahead.
so with student visa, we can whether we able to work in part-time job in private organization in abroad.
Yeah, that's a good question. So with regards to your student visa, you can work a maximum of up to 20 hours per week across all countries in your student visa. And when that gets converted full time, you can work for 40 hours per week. You can.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So do we have any particular questions with regards to course, country? Yeah. So in that case, I'll just yeah, go ahead, please. Yeah.
Data science, sir.
Yeah, data science.
Scope of data science.
Sorry, you're not audible. Can you be a bit louder?
Scope of data science, sir.
Scope of data science. Having been in this field for almost 1.5 years now, I would say the field is going to expand rapidly. It's not going to come down. But again, this word scope is it's a very misleading word. Yes, data science has scope. There's no doubting that. But just by being in data science, you can't expect yourself to be given a good salary or a very good career. It entirely comes down to how good you are at your math skills, your SQL, your Python, these common skills. If you're good at them, then yeah, it's a very, very good field to get into. Considering the current opportunities, you can have a very good career. But your skill set should be very strong. More than the university, the masters that you're studying, you have to have good projects, good experiences. That is what I would say.
Sir, which countries are good for data science, sir?
Okay. USA, Ireland, Germany. These three would be the top three picks, I would say.
Okay, sir.
Excuse me, sir. How many years does it take to gain a good experience in data science?
Oh, this is a very good question. Thank you. I would say as I told you before, if data science as a word is a very big word. If you take data science, within that falls business intelligence, within that falls artificial intelligence, within that falls ML, deep learning, everything. So I'll tell you for every particular stream how much time it takes or how much time I took. So I worked as a business intelligence engineer, or you would have popularly heard data analyst, right? So that took me almost 1 year to master that field. With regards to predictive analytics, math, ML, deep learning, it will easily take you 2 to 3 years. So if you're going to get into ML, I would say 2 to 3 years. If you're going to start with SQL, Tableau, Power BI, or business intelligence, data analyst, I would say 1 year. Does that answer your question, Isaac?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Which country is suitable for game development, sir?
Game development. I am actually sorry, Ananda. I am not into that particular field, but we have game developers in our batch. So if you can text me up in LinkedIn, I'll get you connected to one of them because I'm not sure about that field. Sorry. You're talking more about video games and game designs and
Yes, sir.
game. Yeah, I think I am not the right person to answer that. I'll link you up to someone who's an expert in that.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, any more questions? Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
So could you share your LinkedIn profile, sir? Proper link.
Yeah, I have shared you my LinkedIn profile.
Oh, okay, I will check.
I think it's in the chat. I've sent you in the chat.
The chat is disabled actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So how do I enable chat? Hmm.
Hello, sorry to interrupt, Vedin.
Ma'am, yeah, hi, ma'am. I think these.
Maybe you can screen share and just show your LinkedIn so that they'll find your name and they can easily search across.
Yeah, ma'am. That should also work. So this is my LinkedIn profile, guys. I'm Nivedan Sendil Kumar. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Noted.
Yeah. Thank you. So yeah. Yeah, so I think I covered most topics with regards to our agenda today, with exam types, countries, variety, and every particular thing. But one thing that I can tell you for sure is this study abroad topic, it's very, very broad. So, once you start digging into every particular exam and every single component, you'll start unraveling new things about your journey. So, I think the more deeper you get into it, you will have new granular questions. So, we are also happy to help you on that because we have almost close to 10 to 15 people who are going for their masters this year, who are going to go for next year. So for every particular field, we have people who are doing masters in particular countries. So if you can get back to us on LinkedIn on particular questions. Yeah. So, ma'am, I think I'm done with my presentation, ma'am.
Okay, so thank you so much, Nivedan. So, students, first of all, my sincere apologies. I think there was some technical error in the beginning with regard to the link. So, I'll ensure that that doesn't occur from now on. And people who would have joined in late, as in like, people who got the new link late and they would have joined only a few minutes back or only joined mid half of the event. I'm sure I will share you the YouTube link of the complete event because we've been recording since the beginning. We will upload it to the YouTube and we will definitely share that to you. So I hope that definitely that will be helpful for you. And for them, if at all you have any questions, I'm sure you can directly, message Nivedan through his LinkedIn. So thank you so much. And you have any other questions or any suggestions with regard to the events happening because this is the day 2. So I want to hear from you so that maybe if at all you need anything, we will be able to cater the needs of you. So please let me know. Anybody? Or we all clear? Or it is fine the way it is going? Please let me know. If it's okay also, please let me know so that it will be like a, Hello? Am I audible?
Yeah, ma'am, you are. Yeah.
Nivedan, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah.
Students, are you able to hear me? Students? No response.
Yes,
How
ma'am.
was today's session? How did you like it? Yes? Okay. Okay, so everybody are showing reactions with their thumbs up and claps. So if at all you have any suggestions, we are really open to them. And
I think they have this Friday syndrome, I think, Date of
Friday syndrome. I think they have another wonderful session tomorrow also. I will assure that the link is working and the proper link is sent across to you all. So thank you so much for joining in today. And who have missed, definitely I will mail you the YouTube link and I'll also share which channel that I'll mention it tomorrow in tomorrow's session. So all of you can make use of that as well. And any suggestion with regard to the event, how it goes, you can always, leave in a message to your mentors or the mail ID or whatever. Anyways, thank you so much for today's session. Thank you for participating, all of you. And please continue participating in the next 3 sessions in this first series. And I'm sure this will be one of its kind where you all would like it. Once again, Nivedan, thank you. So I would like to hear from you. How was the session? How did you feel about our audiences?
Yeah, ma'am, it was very nice because I didn't expect these many questions, and as expected, there are a lot of people who are wanting to do their masters in data science. So, yeah, as I told, I'd be more than happy because even I am into that field. So, please hit me up in my mail or LinkedIn. We can discuss even a bit more further on your options. Like, say, if you have a particular domain or country in mind, we'll have one-on-one sessions to tailor your profile or even resumes. We are happy to do that. So I had a very good session, ma'am. I had very good questions. So yeah, it was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Students, I hope you all liked the session. Did you?
Yes,
Sir,
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
your LinkedIn
Yes, ma'am.
ID, sir.
Yeah, ma'am. I think a lot of people are asking the LinkedIn ID, ma'am.
Okay,
Can
so
I
what
share
I will
the
do
link
is,
alone?
yeah, but I'm sure, I think there is some error with the chat box. So that is
Okay.
the reason. I'll sure it reaches all of you. By tomorrow, I will send you all the speakers LinkedIn. Mine, yesterday they asked mine as well. So I'll share it. Students, I'll assure that you receive all of them within the end of all the, end of the 5 days. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect.
ma'am.
I'll ensure that.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so
I
much. Huh.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, student.
One more thing that I'd like to add on is most of your questions on which country to do and will I get a scholarship or not depends on your profile. When I keep saying profile, tomorrow's session is going to be one of its kind because LinkedIn is going to be one particular thing that's going to really show who you are, so please be prepared for that session and have a lot of doubts waiting for Vashini so that tomorrow's session will be really nice. Yeah. So,
Cool, yes. And the students also, you can share across the links once you receive to your other friends also, so that they might also help join from your own department of CSC and CSBS. So once again, thank you. I once again thank all the staffs, Jain sir, Satish sir, Karthikeyan sir, Dr. Murugoli ma'am, Dr. Anuradha for arranging this wonderful session. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nivedan, for your time. And thank you, students, for your time as well. Bye-bye, and hope to keep this going on really well for the next 3 days as well. Bye-bye. Take care.
yeah,
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.